People who don't have friends often share personality traits that most people completely misunderstand. Society is quick to assume they are lonely, rejected, or socially awkward, but the truth is often much more interesting than that. One of the strongest traits they share is that they value their own peace more than social approval. They are not always without friends because people avoid them. In many cases, they have consciously chosen to spend more time on their own because they refuse to give up their peace, their principles, or their identity just to fit into a crowd. While many people fear being alone, they discover that solitude can become one of the greatest teachers life has to offer. This trait alone sets them apart from most people. Most people naturally search for acceptance because human beings are wired to belong. They want to be included, appreciated, and surrounded by others. There is nothing wrong with wanting that. However, people who don't have friends often see things differently. They ask themselves a different question. Instead of asking, "How can I make people like me?" they ask, "Is this relationship actually adding value to my life?" That small shift completely changes how they choose the people around them. They would rather walk alone than pretend to be someone they are not. This often reminds us that knowing yourself is one of the greatest forms of power a person can have. Someone who never spends time alone rarely understands who they really are, because they are constantly shaped by the opinions, expectations, and emotions of others. But those who naturally embrace solitude build a habit that many people never master. They grow comfortable listening to their own thoughts. Instead of constantly chasing entertainment or approval, they spend time reflecting on their choices, studying human behavior, and understanding their own strengths and weaknesses. Solitude becomes their classroom, and silence becomes their teacher. This trait also makes them far less likely to follow the crowd. They are not easily swayed by trends, social pressure, or the fear of missing out. When everyone else rushes in one direction, they stop and ask themselves whether that direction actually matches their values. This kind of independent thinking often leads others to misread them. Some might call them distant, reserved, or even arrogant, but in truth, they simply refuse to let popularity matter more than being real. They understand that gaining approval by giving up your true self is not success at all. It is quiet defeat. Another reason they value solitude is that they can tell the difference between being surrounded by people and actually being understood. Plenty of people have huge social circles, yet still feel emotionally alone because their relationships are built on convenience, appearances, or short-term benefits. People who don't have many friends often pick up on this contradiction right away. They realize that a room full of chatter doesn't automatically mean real connection exists. Because of this awareness, they become extremely selective about who earns a place in their lives. They would rather have no close friends at all than pour their trust into relationships built on dishonesty, gossip, or emotional games. This trait also gives them remarkable emotional strength. Because they aren't constantly relying on social approval, their confidence starts to grow from the inside rather than from outside validation. They don't measure their worth by how many messages they get, how many invitations they accept, or how much attention they draw. Instead, they build confidence through discipline, personal growth, and quiet progress. This inner stability makes them hard to manipulate, since they are never desperate for acceptance. The less someone needs approval, the less control other people have over them. Many of these individuals also find that solitude opens up space for self-improvement. While others spend hours chasing popularity or trying to impress people who barely know them, these individuals use that same time in a different way. They read books, build useful skills, take care of their health, grow their careers, learn new things. or simply think about the direction their life is heading. They know that every hour spent getting stronger today creates new opportunities tomorrow. This is why so many successful thinkers, creators, leaders, and innovators have gone through long periods of solitude. They weren't hiding from the world. They were getting ready for it. Of course, valuing solitude doesn't mean they never feel lonely. They are still only human. There are moments when they wish someone was there to share their wins or their struggles with. But this trait teaches them something important. A short period of loneliness is often far less harmful than surrounding yourself with people who constantly drain your energy, push you to compromise your values, or pull you away from your purpose. They understand that protecting their peace now increases the odds of building healthier relationships later on. Perhaps the greatest strength this trait gives them is the ability to stay authentic no matter who is watching. They don't constantly shift their opinions to win approval or hide parts of who they are to blend into different groups. The person they are behind closed doors is usually the same person they are out in public. That kind of consistency creates a quiet confidence because they are no longer living to meet everyone else's expectations. Instead, they are building a life shaped by their own values, goals, and principles. The truth is that people who don't have friends are often misunderstood because society mistakes solitude for failure. But choosing to be alone is very different from being unable to connect with others. For many of these people, solitude isn't a punishment at all. It's a deliberate choice that protects their focus, strengthens their character, and lets them grow without the constant weight of social approval. Their greatest trait isn't that they simply enjoy being alone. It's that they value becoming the right person before they go searching for the right people. And once you understand why people who don't have friends value solitude over social approval, the next trait becomes even easier to see. They trust people very slowly because experience has taught them that loyalty is proven through consistent action, not convincing words. Once you understand that people who don't have friends often value solitude more than social approval, another trait starts to come into focus. They trust people very slowly because they've learned to study human nature before letting someone into their lives. Most people form opinions about someone within minutes of meeting them. They get swept up by charm, confidence, appearance, or the thrill of a new connection. But people with few friends usually think about it differently. Instead of asking whether someone seems interesting, they quietly ask whether that person is trustworthy. This habit can make them seem distant at first, but it's actually one of the strongest traits they carry. Robert Greene often points out that appearances are one of the biggest illusions in human nature. People naturally show the version of themselves they want others to see. First impressions can be carefully staged. Words can be rehearsed ahead of time. Kindness can be temporary. Confidence can be performed. But true character only reveals itself through repeated actions over time. People who don't have friends understand this deeply. They know anyone can make promises at the start of a relationship, but only time can prove real consistency. Because of this, they rarely rush into friendships. They give people enough time to show who they truly are. This trait is often shaped by past experience. Many people who now have very few friends weren't always this careful. At some point, they trusted easily, believed the promises they were given, and expected honesty from everyone they met. But life taught them hard lessons. They went through betrayal, disappointment, broken loyalty, or relationships that slowly exposed hidden motives. Those experiences changed how they see human nature. Instead of turning bitter, they became more observant. They learned that trust shouldn't be handed out just because someone seems kind. It has to be earned through steady behavior over time. One of the first things they pay attention to is whether a person's actions actually match their words. Anyone can talk about loyalty, honesty, or respect. Those words sound nice, but on their own, they mean very little. People who don't have friends focus on something far more telling. They watch what people do when there is nothing in it for them. They notice how someone treats strangers, how they act under pressure, and whether they stay honest even when the truth is inconvenient. They understand that real character shows up during hard moments, not easy ones. This careful observation also shields them from emotional manipulation. Many people grow attached before they truly understand who is standing in front of them. Once emotions get involved, people tend to overlook warning signs because they don't want to lose a relationship they've already pictured in their mind. People who don't have many friends usually avoid falling into this trap by refusing to rush things. They stay emotionally steady while quietly paying attention and collecting information. They have the patience to let someone's real character show itself over time. This patience often protects them from relationships that would eventually cause needless pain. Another reason they build trust slowly is that they understand how rare true loyalty really is. In today's world, a lot of relationships are built on convenience. People stick around while it benefits them, then vanish the moment things change. People with fewer friends have usually picked up on this pattern already. They know real friendship gets tested during hard times, not during the easy ones. It's simple to stand by someone when life is going smoothly. Real loyalty shows itself when supporting someone takes sacrifice, honesty, or courage. Because genuine loyalty is so hard to find, they refuse to give their trust away carelessly. Some people misread this trait and assume these individuals are distant or antisocial. In truth, it's usually the opposite. They care so much about meaningful connections that they refuse to settle for shallow ones. They understand that trust is one of the most valuable things a person can give. Once it's broken, putting it back together is never easy. Instead of constantly fixing damaged friendships, they'd rather spend more time upfront figuring out who actually deserves their confidence. Their caution isn't fear. It's wisdom earned through experience. This habit also turns them into remarkable observers of human behavior. While others get distracted by charm, they quietly pick up on patterns. They notice who always blames others for their own mistakes, who acts differently depending on who's around, who talks badly about friends who aren't in the room, and who only shows up when there's something in it for them. These small clues might seem minor to most people, but together they reveal someone's true character. People who don't have many friends often spot these patterns long before anyone else does, which is exactly why they stay so careful about who they let into their lives. There's another real benefit to this trait. Because they trust slowly, the friendships they eventually form tend to run deeper and last longer. They're not chasing acquaintances or building a big social circle just to look good. What they want is honesty, mutual respect, and reliability. They understand that one loyal friend who consistently shows up is worth far more than a crowd of people who disappear the moment life gets hard. Their goal was never popularity. Their goal is authenticity. The truth is, trusting slowly isn't a weakness. It's a sign that someone understands what emotional investment really costs. They know every friendship shapes their mindset, their habits, and their future. That's exactly why they choose carefully. They'd rather spend extra time watching and waiting than spend years recovering from trust given to the wrong person. In a world where so many people judge others by appearances, they judge people by consistency instead. That one simple difference protects their peace and shapes the quality of every relationship they choose to build. And once you understand why people who don't have friends trust others so slowly, the next personality trait becomes impossible to miss. Their standards are strong enough that they'd rather stay alone than surround themselves with fake relationships that slowly chip away at their self-respect. Once you understand that people who don't have friends value solitude and trust others gradually, another defining trait becomes clear. They hold firm personal standards and refuse to settle for fake relationships just to avoid loneliness. This is one of the biggest reasons their circle stays small. It's not because they're incapable of connecting with people. It's because they refuse to build connections that force them to give up their self-respect, their values, or their peace of mind. While most people are afraid of losing relationships, these individuals are more afraid of losing themselves. Most people naturally want to belong somewhere. They're willing to overlook small disrespect, put up with unhealthy behavior, or stay in one-sided friendships because they believe having people around is better than being alone. At first, these compromises feel small and harmless. A rude joke gets brushed off, a broken promise gets excused, dishonesty gets explained away. Little by little, these small compromises turn into a pattern. Before long, people find themselves surrounded by relationships that feel familiar but offer very little real respect. People who don't have many friends usually catch onto this pattern early, and that awareness becomes one of their strongest traits. Robert Greene often points out that human nature is largely driven by self-interest. While plenty of people are capable of loyalty and kindness, others will naturally test how far they can push you. They watch your reactions, whether they realize it or not, to figure out how much they can get away with. People who don't have many friends usually understand this reality clearly. They know that every relationship teaches others how they're allowed to treat you. If you keep letting disrespect slide, people start to believe it's acceptable. That's why they protect their standards from the very start instead of trying to rebuild lost respect later on. One of the clearest traits of these individuals is how comfortable they are walking away from relationships that no longer match their values. This choice rarely comes from anger or pride. It comes from clarity. They understand that staying connected to people who constantly stir up drama, spread negativity, manipulate emotions, or betray trust will eventually chip away at their own character. Instead of asking how to keep every friendship alive, they ask a far more important question. Is this relationship helping me grow into who I want to be, or is it slowly pulling me away from that person? That question shapes many of their decisions. This trait often gets misunderstood. Some people call them overly picky, hard to approach, or impossible to please. But those judgments usually come from people who confuse healthy boundaries with unnecessary coldness. There's a real difference between rejecting people out of arrogance and protecting yourself out of wisdom. People who don't have many friends aren't chasing perfection because they know perfection doesn't exist. They simply believe honesty, respect, loyalty, and mutual effort are non-negotiable in any relationship worth having. Another reason they hold high standards is that they understand how much the people around them quietly shape who they become. Every friendship influences your habits, your beliefs, and your emotional health. Spend enough time around people who complain constantly, and negativity starts to feel normal. Spend enough time around dishonest people, and integrity starts to matter less. Spend enough time around people who gossip, and eventually you start wondering what they say about you when you're not in the room. People who don't have many friends understand that no relationship is truly neutral. Every relationship either strengthens your character or slowly wears it down. Because of this, they refuse to chase friendships just to keep up appearances. In today's world, having a huge social circle is often treated as a sign of success. Social media feeds the illusion that popularity equals happiness. But people with strong standards see right through that illusion. They understand that being surrounded by lots of people means very little if those relationships are built on competition, jealousy, convenience, or hidden motives. They'd rather spend their time becoming a better version of themselves than constantly trying to impress people who don't genuinely value them. This trait also gives them remarkable consistency. They don't shift their principles depending on who's in the room. They refuse to compromise their values just to earn temporary approval. If a friendship demands dishonesty, constant people-pleasing, or pretending to be someone they're not, they quietly walk away. This choice might leave them with a small circle of friends, but it also lets them hold onto something far more valuable, their integrity. They understand that losing yourself just to keep a relationship alive is never really a win. There are moments when sticking to high standards feels hard. Watching others enjoy big social circles can stir up temporary doubt. They might wonder if they're expecting too much from people, but over time, experience keeps proving their choices right. They watch others get trapped in exhausting friendships full of conflict, betrayal, and emotional manipulation, while their own smaller circle stays grounded in trust and authenticity. This keeps reinforcing their belief that quality will always matter more than quantity. The truth is, people who don't have many friends usually aren't lacking chances to build relationships. They're simply unwilling to settle for relationships that fall short of their standards for respect, honesty, and loyalty. Their character takes shape around one core belief: that real friendship should bring calm, motivation, and personal growth, not endless stress or emotional chaos. They know that holding firm to their standards might shrink their circle of people, but it massively raises the quality of the ones who stay. And once you understand why people without many friends refuse to accept fake connections, the next trait becomes even more striking. They build a kind of emotional independence that lets them lean on themselves instead of constantly chasing approval from those around them. Once you see that people without close friends value alone time, choose who to trust with great care, and won't settle for hollow relationships, another trait starts to make sense. They develop a level of emotional independence that most people never truly reach. Rather than depending on constant attention, praise, or comfort from others, they train themselves to be their own source of support. This trait isn't something they're born with. It's usually built through lived experience. After enough time spent alone, they start to notice that confidence built from within feels far sturdier than confidence borrowed from someone else's opinion. Most people naturally crave approval. They feel lifted when others compliment them and deflated when they're criticized. That reaction is deeply human, but it also creates a hidden vulnerability. When your confidence hinges entirely on how others view you, your emotional state stays in someone else's control. One kind word can brighten your whole day, while one harsh comment can wreck it. People without many friends often break free from this pattern because solitude gives them the time to build a different kind of foundation. Instead of asking, "Do people like me?" they start asking, "Am I staying true to my own values?" That single shift quietly reshapes how they see themselves. Robert Greene often points out that true power starts with mastering yourself. Someone who constantly needs outside approval becomes easy to sway because their mood rises and falls with other people's reactions. But those who've learned to stand on their own build a quiet, steady confidence that's hard to shake or manipulate. They stop chasing acceptance, realizing that that approval earned by giving up who you really are was never worth having in the first place. They'd rather let the crowd down than betray their own principles. This emotional independence also changes how they approach decisions. Plenty of people freeze up before big choices because they're scared of being judged. They worry about what friends, family, coworkers, or even strangers will think. Because of that fear, they delay opportunities, push aside their instincts, and slowly start living by other people's expectations instead of their own sense of purpose. People without close friends tend to sidestep this trap since they're already used to standing alone. They grow comfortable making tough calls without waiting for everyone's blessing. They understand that any path worth walking eventually demands the courage to walk it solo. Another reason this trait carries so much weight is that it shields them from emotional manipulation. Many unhealthy relationships survive simply because one person is afraid of losing approval. They put up with disrespect out of fear of being left behind. They stay quiet to avoid stirring up conflict. They keep sacrificing their own needs, convinced that keeping everyone else happy matters more than protecting themselves. But emotionally independent people slowly stop making these trade-offs. They come to see that peace built on constant self-sacrifice isn't real peace at all. It's exhaustion wearing the mask of kindness. Because they've learned to rely on themselves emotionally, they also grow more resilient when hard times hit. Life doesn't follow a script. Friendships shift. Relationships end. Circumstances change without any warning at all. People who've always leaned on others for emotional steadiness often struggle badly once those relationships fade away. But those without many friends have already spent years learning to face hardship on their own. They know how to work through problems, comfort themselves through disappointment, and keep moving forward without waiting for someone else to save them. This doesn't erase the pain, but it stops the pain from taking over their entire life. This trait also shapes how they define success. Rather than measuring themselves against everyone else, they focus on their own progress. They understand that someone else's win doesn't shrink their own potential. While many people get caught up in constant comparison, emotionally independent people mostly compete with who they were yesterday. Every new skill learned, every disciplined habit kept, every lesson absorbed becomes proof of growth. Their confidence grows from action, not applause, which makes it far more lasting over time. Of course, emotional independence should never be mistaken for isolation. People without close friends aren't trying to prove they don't need anyone at all. Humans are social by nature, and healthy relationships remain one of life's greatest gifts. The difference is that emotionally independent people don't let relationships define who they are. They welcome real companionship when it comes along, but they refuse to believe their worth vanishes without it. Their sense of value stays steady. Whether they're surrounded by people or completely on their own, there's another real advantage to this trait. Because they're not desperate for approval, they show up far more authentically in how they interact with others. They don't constantly reshape their personality to fit every social setting. They're not afraid to voice respectful disagreement, own their mistakes, or hold their ground even when it's unpopular. Oddly enough, this honesty tends to earn genuine respect. People naturally trust those who stay consistent, because consistency signals real confidence. Those who truly know themselves rarely feel the urge to fake it. The biggest lesson buried inside this trait is that freedom starts the moment you stop letting others decide your worth. When your confidence rests on likes, praise, invitations, or public recognition, your emotional well-being stays fragile. But when it's built on discipline, integrity, and self-respect, it becomes remarkably hard for anyone to take away. People without many friends often discover this truth long before others do, because solitude teaches them to become their own source of encouragement. The truth is, emotional independence stands as one of the defining traits shared by many people with very few friends. They've learned that while relationships can add richness to life, self-respect always has to come first. Their confidence isn't built on popularity, but on the quiet certainty that they're living by their own values, no matter who approves or disapproves. And once you understand why people without close friends grow emotionally independent, the next trait explains why they talk less, observe more, and often understand human nature better than those constantly chasing attention. Once you see that people without many friends often become emotionally independent, another trait naturally comes into view. They talk less, watch more, and give away very little about themselves. While plenty of people feel compelled to fill every silence with chatter or share every detail of their lives, these individuals do the opposite. They understand that listening often uncovers far more than speaking ever could, and careful observation lets them understand people on a much deeper level. This trait is one of the biggest reasons they're so often misread. Their quiet nature gets mistaken for shyness, arrogance, or disinterest, when really it's usually a sign of patience, self-control, and thoughtful attention. Robert Greene often explains that human nature becomes easier to read when you spend more time watching than reacting. People give themselves away through small habits, what most others never even notice. The words they pick, how they treat people who can't offer them anything in return, how they handle criticism, how fast their opinions shift depending on who they're with, and whether their actions actually match what they promise. All of it quietly reveals character. People without close friends often build this habit because they spend less energy trying to impress others and more energy simply paying attention. Instead of rushing to judge, they quietly gather information until patterns start to emerge. This trait also protects them from making emotional decisions too fast. Many people grow attached to someone just because a conversation felt nice or they received a bit of temporary kindness.